Hi everyone, in this video I will be talking about the major macroeconomic news that's been going on in the Americas and Asia region in the past week. So let's start with Americas first. So I'd like to talk about the Brazilian economic situation and how Brazilian financial markets are demanding more fiscal discipline at a time of high inflation, low economic growth, and less risk appetite. The real currency and the Bovespa stock index have both lost 4%, um, 4% in the last month, and also they also face a higher cost of borrowing. So banks such as Citigroup have decided to cut its risk exposure to Brazil as the president basically tried to sidestep the spending cap, which would further widen their fiscal deficit and government debt, which will basically put Brazil at a greater risk of defaulting. Next, I'd like to talk about inflation in the U.S. and how consumer prices have risen 7.7% from last year. So the inflation in U.S. has been slowing down, but it's still very high, and there has been a rise in stock prices and a fall in the bond yields. Um so in order to combat inflation, the Federal Reserve is aggressively lifting rates, which are now between 3.75 and 4%. Uh, However, investors hope that the slowing down of inflation means that the Federal Reserve might not have to raise interest rates in the future. There has been moreover, there has been strong consumer demand in the U.S. economy. So there has been a rise in the prices of majority of the goods and services. However, prices of airlines, medical care, and used cars and trucks have fallen down. Lastly, in the Americas region, I'd like to talk about Argentina and the implementation of another exchange rate, this time for tourists only. So this exchange rate will mainly allow tourists using credit and debit cards to get more pesos as compared to the official rate. So what this will do is it'll reduce the number of pesos traded in the black market and will also lead to an increase in the income from the tourism sector, further improving economic growth. The primary reason to raise the peso's value is to basically counteract the nation's high inflation rate, which is currently at 83%. So by increasing the value of pesos, the government can reduce the cost of their imports, and this will provide a downward pressure on the price. I would now like to move on to what's been going on in Asia. So first, I'd like to talk about China's economic situation and how exports have fallen for the first time since 2020. So the exports have in China have fallen by 0.3% year on year, and this has been due to several factors. One of them being China's refusal to ease COVID-19 restrictions, and this has actually led to supply side issues such as production delays. And what this has done is basically it has restricted consumer demand, which has affected economic growth negatively. Moreover, there is the risk of a global recession, which has also negatively influenced the export activity in China. Next, I'd like to talk about Vietnam's economic situation and how Amazon has relocated some of its operations from China to Vietnam, and how that has influenced Vietnam's economy. So obviously, since Amazon has decided to relocate its operations to Vietnam, it has had a positive impact on Vietnam's economy. So the number of local exporters using Amazon in Vietnam has increased to around 80%. And what this has done is basically it means that there is an increase in the country's aggregate demand, and this can also boost the economy through more investment in the country's transport and infrastructure. Lastly, in the Asia region, I'd like to talk about India's economic situation and how it's going to be the third largest economy in 2027. So India is expected to hit more than double of its current GDP and it's expected to hit around 8.5 trillion. Uh, so this has been due to several factors, and the Indian government has decided to implement and apply supply side and fiscal policies to in order to achieve higher economic growth. So there has been a shift in the policy approach, which is basically away from redistribution, and now it's towards boosting investment and job creation. And this will basically improve employment opportunities in the country and increase the employment rate, which will improve economic growth in the future. So one of the ways in which they are planning to increase investment is to reduce corporate tax and introduce production-linked schemes. And this is being done in order to attract overseas companies and individual investors to invest and set up offices in India. So, thank you for watching this brief summary video of what's been going on in the Americas and Asia regions in this past week. Please do follow our social media pages as shown on the screen above, and hope to see you next week.